Hildebrand, hello. You've been saying a lot about this referendum in Switzerland.
That's right. It's been controversial both inside the country and outside. Brussels already warned that the nation could have its access to the EU single market jeopardized. This market provides four fundamental freedoms: the movement of goods, capital services, and people. Now, the EU Commission told the Financial Times that the single market is not Swiss cheese. You cannot have a single market with holes in it. Now, let's take a look at Sight Online. We've had to blur the headline, but I think the point still comes across. It says Switzerland bleep the EU. We'll get those images for you momentarily. Of course, this comes on the heels of a U.S. diplomat saying these words on a leaked phone call. But the piece points out that this is a message the referendum's sending to the European Union, and it doesn't bode well for Switzerland, not socially or economically. The country is experiencing a boom, and a move like this could threaten social harmony as well as foreign investment, though the piece says it's too soon to know the consequences.
Right, and those comments, well, the diplomat who originally made those comments was US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland in a rather embarrassing leak that was put on the internet, wasn't it?
That's right. Now, the Wall Street Journal has written a piece today called Russia Hacks Americans, and it says that Edward Snowden, the world's best-known privacy advocate, should be pointing the finger at the Kremlin. The recording of the F-bomb heard around the world was posted online anonymously Wednesday, but a day later, it was a Moscow official who first tweeted the link on YouTube. Now, the piece says Snowden should team up with his journalist of choice, Glenn Greenwald, and they should stage an intervention at the Kremlin and try to resolve some of these privacy issues that they've always criticized the U.S. for.
Okay, interesting. All right, more from Russia. The Winter Olympics has begun in Sochi, and that's naturally making headlines, of course.
That's right. Now, we're going to the Moscow Times for this, and it says it's making headlines for all the right reasons this time. Sports eclipse politics as games begin. The piece talks about the triumph of the games taking center stage over the criticism in the run-up to this massive event, but says the overall mood was an excited atmosphere with many visitors just gaping at the beautiful venues and beholding at how wonderful these massive new stadiums were.
Like those lovely hotels.
Exactly. Now, the piece does poke fun at some of those hotels, and we see a cartoon here from the Moscow Times saying the shower in the Sochi, a shower in Sochi. This came out after reports that they were fitted with surveillance cameras. Now, the Wall Street Journal has a different take from the Moscow Times. It says sports hasn't triumphed, and in fact, the Winter Olympics, Putin showcases a defiant Russia. It says the lack of U.S. and European officials at the fancy reception illustrates hostility towards Moscow. And instead, Russian president was joined by heads of state from China, Belarus, Ukraine, and a North Korean official. Still, Putin wants the games to display that despite this, and even because of that, his defiance to the West, Russia has returned to prominence.
Okay, let's move on to some other news now. And another story, of course, that's making headlines is French President François Hollande's visit to the US. How are the American press reporting this?
Well, first and foremost, the two presidents wrote a piece that's out on the Washington Post now, talking about the two countries enjoying a renewed alliance, bilateral efforts over security concerns in Africa, as well as trade between the two countries. Now, the International New York Times has two takes on it that's quite interesting. One is the irony of an interventionist French president meeting a war-weary American president. That's something new, and they're trying to see if these two leaders can reconcile their differences on that. But also that Obama's eager to show the U.S. still has strong allies in Europe, while Hollande wants France to keep up its image of being a global superpower by being invited to Washington for this official state visit. The other take the International New York Times does is a bit different. It's a curveball. It says that now that Hollande is single, it raises issues of protocol for the White House. 300 thick ivory invitations that bore the name of Valérie Trierweiler, the former French First Lady, had to be quietly destroyed. It was, in fact. And so the staff was trying to say, well, what do we do now? Who will Hollande sit next to? What are we going to do in terms of entertainment? Traditionally, the U.S. First Lady will take the visiting First Lady on a visit of a local school. They'll have tea time. All that's off the agenda. So people are saying, well, what are we going to do now? And one of the things a former chef at the White House said was he wonders if Hollande will be daring enough to invite Michelle Obama to the dance floor. But
Ooh, well, we'll have to wait and see. All right, thanks very much for that look at what's making headlines in the international papers of William Hildebrand. We're going to take a short break, but stay with us. When we come back, we'll have a special report on Italy's collaborators of justice. Former criminals who work with authorities in return for protection and compensation are a crucial part of the country's fight against the mafia. But is this the best way to crack down on organised crime? Our reporters explore in our Focus segment.